the SEC, the great state of Mississippi.
This is
Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Powered by C-Spire. Customer inspired. Live in the Bank Plus studios.
and you're listening to
ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Explain that.
The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by the Great Steaks and Four Roses Bourbon at Shapley's Steakhouse in Ridgeland. Visit shapleysrestaurant.com to make a reservation. Twitter handle at BoBounds, number 601-707-3750. That is powered by C-Spire's iPhone 7 on their Max Range LTE network. You can pick up a C-Spire iPhone 7 at any of their retail locations or online, cspire.com. And we're hoping to have Mike Bianco on the show here in the next few minutes. Mike Huguenin is scheduled for 8:15. He's with gridironnow.com. Todd Wade played football at Ole Miss. He's scheduled at 9 a.m. And Dave Bartu at 9:30. Dave Bartu at 9:30. Do you think that the college football playoff rankings got smoked because of the Cubs and Indians? No doubt.
Did anyone,
you could tell.
Please let me know if anyone watched that. Did anyone watch the unveiling? I know I didn't.
I saw the last six teams get. I turned in at like 6:30 or something and saw the last 6 teams get announced.
I got a notification on my phone. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot they were doing that tonight.
Oh, yeah. And then A&M's there at number 4.
Yeah, and then that took me by surprise.
Is A&M better than Washington?
Yes.
They'd beat them, but
Yeah.
they're not going to. They don't deserve to be
Right.
4. I don't think.
So we're not. We know, as Bartu has said, we're not picking the best 4 teams. We're picking the conference champions with either one loss or you're undefeated. And if you have 2 losses, then that may put you on the chopping block, right?
Right.
Okay.
Would you be okay with using the old BCS system to do the 4 teams?
Yeah, I'd rather have the 4 best teams, but they won't balance throughout the country for eyeballs, and they would love for the West Coast markets to be more invested in football, and they would love for the Northeast markets to be more invested in football. Right now, what drives football? Southeast, Midwest, right? And then we build out from there. Southeast markets, Midwest markets drive college football. That's why Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, is dying to have a team where? In the Central Time Zone.
Right.
And we do not have a powerhouse in the Northeast. Penn State, that ship has long sailed. And who else would you say? That's it in the Northeast. So you have the Midwest with Ohio State and Michigan. And then you have the Southeast with plenty of teams in Bama and Florida and LSU and among others. And then out west, who is the most rabid fan base out west? Is it SC? Because that's scary if that's the case.
Almost by default.
Is it Oregon?
Is it Oregon?
Yeah.
They say that place gets loud.
I mean, Oklahoma's rabid, A&M's rabid, but that's in the middle part of the country.
Explain that.
Is it SC? Is it USC? The Trojans?
I'd have to be.
Who would be number 2? If it's the Trojans,
The Ducks.
The Ducks
I think
over
so.
over Stanford.
I mean, Stanford's not rabid.
They're not.
Washington State, one of them somewhat rabid.
They're into the next tech invention, device.
Can't blame them.
Way over.
Nah, people that go
No,
for
I can't either.
People that go for Washington State are into the Seahawks.
No doubt.
But they have that really neat tailgating thing where they're on their boats
Washington?
and stuff. Is it? It might be Washington State.
No,
They took it
it's
on
Washington.
Okay.
Washington State's on the other side. They're on the eastern side of the state of Washington.
Okay,
They're out in the
so-
middle of
so
nowhere.
it-
Yeah, Washington is in the suburb of Seattle, just like Oklahoma's in the suburb of
I think
Oklahoma
it's in.
State,
I think it's in like
Oklahoma City.
I think it's in like downtown Seattle.
Yes, right there.
sweet.
I'm just right. Maybe I'm sorry. The suburb was not a good way to describe it. You're right, because on the bay, but they're not into it. They don't care. Most of them don't get off their yachts. You know, I mean,
Right.
Bill Gates has probably been to one Washington Huskies game in 25 years, and that's just because, maybe it's somebody's birthday or something. Okay, so most rabid west of Oklahoma and A&M. Most rabid college football.
What about Utah or BYU?
I was about to say, is it
BYU?
BYU?
Maybe so. I'm
That's
all right with
scary.
That is scary. What are they rapping about, period, over there?
Are we forgetting a small team out there? The Boise State Broncos?
They
I
rabid?
thought about Boise, but, man, that's a reach. Who is USC? I guess it is USC. That's tough.
Awful. Awful.
But what the college football playoff would like is balance and more markets to join the party as far as the playoff. We're not getting the best 4 teams. We're just getting conference champions. Is there any way that Mississippi State can make the A&M game close?
Yeah.
Is there any way?
Cancel the
A&M
game.
flight gets delayed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one.
Cancel the game.
That's another
They're
one.
not. It's,
Ooh, they should go. Ooh, the interim AD at State should go all Jeremy Foley. Find a
Ooh.
reason to cancel it.
Yeah. That Scott Weatherby is the new interim AD.
That'd be a power move for an interim AD.
That would be
No
a
doubt.
power move. Somehow, claim that their airport had to be shut down right there at Columbus, and the A&M plane can't get in. That's an 11 a.m. game. Let me ask you this: How long do you think that game will be interesting?
I'll give it over under 3 minutes. Give me the under.
I think you'd at least be interesting halfway through the second quarter.
And it's shocking to me. The line keeps dropping. It's now
What
down-
is going on there?
now down
Shouldn't the
13.
line be 24 points? I don't understand.
me, it should.
Explain that to me.
I can't.
Lee Sterling will maybe help us on Friday, but I need somebody to explain, first of all, why, if you're a smart bettor, you would have jumped on it at 10.5 on Sunday. 10.5. You're a bettor. You bet on college football games, and you had an opportunity to give up less than 2 touchdowns, which is 12 points, right?
Right.
10.5 points on Sunday. You had a chance to take A&M and start the game 10.5 to nothing. MSU.
Is it because A&M played South Carolina pretty close on the road?
Ooh, Drew may be scratching around on something here.
But they did.
But
sit-
it looks
they-
like
they
South
sat, like, a
Carolina's
lot of
getting
their-
better.
They did sit a lot
I
of
can't
their
believe I'm
guys.
saying this about Will Muschamp. It looks like South Carolina is getting better, and either MSU is stagnant. I don't necessarily want to say they're regressing, but they may. It doesn't look to me. I think people are looking at that Samford game, and I don't think either one of y'all really watched it, which is fine. But I was there, and they just marched up and down. Chris Hatcher thought that they were going to break. The head coach at Samford thought they were going to break, and almost did, the Davis Wade Stadium passing game record. Even though Trevor Knight couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, when you have Josh Reynolds, Christian Kirk, and is it Ricky Seals-Jones?
Jones Jr.
Thank you, Ricky Seals-Jones Jr. When you have those guys running routes, how wide open will they be against that MSU secondary?
I think the reason the spread is where it's at is because A&M.
A&M will not be interested.
Not only that, they
is
haven't
Vegas
covered a
thinking
spread.
that they're just going to come in and kind of sleepwalk through the game?
Their past 5 games, they've only covered 1 spread.
Really?
Those kind of trends play a lot into this.
Are they thinking 42-10 and then MSU rips off some points late in the game?
Garbage points, yeah.
And that makes Vegas hesitate to throw that number at 22 points?
Right. That's the only reason I could possibly see.
And let me go ahead and say this. I believe that MSU has athletes on defense. I think that Dan Mullen made a mistake. You can't learn on the job in the SEC.
No.
Hold on, let me check my phone.
I do like this tweet from Sassy Sloth, the bomb threat at Tamu game. Would stop it. I actually thought about that earlier. I didn't want to say that.
That's a tad extreme.
Yeah, we can't joke around. This day and age, you can't even
do that.
You can't even discuss or joke around with that. So that's why I left that alone. The point here is Dan Mullen hired a guy who had never been a DC and never called plays, and you can't learn on the job in the SEC. Let's take a break. Mike Huguenin coming up next. GridironNow.com. We'll talk Bama LSU, maybe A&M MSU. And no, we won't. Mike Bianco just texted me. He's ready to roll.
That's party.
We're going to 1059 The Zone, brought to you by the GMC Sierra Trucks at Fowler Buick GMC in Brandon. Mike Bianco and his son were at the World Series game last night. Game 6, Cubs and Indians in Cleveland. And, of course, Chris Coughlin was a fantastic baseball player for Coach Bianco at Ole Miss. So I feel like that was the tide there. Mike, good morning. Welcome in. Thanks so much for taking some time.
Good morning. How are you?
Man, we're doing great. Had you been to a World Series? Had you attended a World Series game before last night?
No, I haven't. Of course, I'm a baseball coach and, in love sports, but I've never been to, any of the major events, NBA championship or Super Bowl or anything like that. And usually, it's too hard. It's too much to get to. And, sometimes maybe more enjoyable to watch it on television. But to get an opportunity to watch, Chris and the Cubs and to get out here was, kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deal. And, of course, my son Drew is a huge Cubs fan. So when we got a text, I guess it would have been Sunday night overnight. I didn't get it until Monday morning, about 6 a.m. when I woke up, from Chris that said, I got 2 tickets if you want to come. So it was kind of, in panic mode from there, trying to find flights to get to Cleveland and then to get a hotel because, it's here and they had a chance to clinch and, of course, an NBA basketball game that was across the street. So, but we got here and got it done.
That's cool. Mike Bianco, head baseball coach of the Ole Miss Rebels on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Mike and his son Drew were at Game 6 last night, Cubs, Indians. And, of course, Chris Coughlin was an All-SEC and All-American under Coach Bianco at Ole Miss about 12, 13 years ago. That's a bucket list type deal. So describe Mike, describe the atmosphere last night in Cleveland.
Well, it was terrific. And, like I said, the basketball game next door. And, we didn't really know what to expect. And, of course, I know Mickey Callaway is the pitching coach. And, I've met Mickey and spoken to Mickey, but don't know Mickey like I know Chris. And, my son's in a Cubs jersey, a Kyle Schwarber jersey to boot. But just, huge crowds and, but a neat city, Cleveland. I've never been here. A beautiful city, very clean. The people have been terrific. And, we got into the game, 2.5 hours or so before, watched batting practice. And there's a lot of electricity, as you can imagine. But as the game got closer and, the stadium packed, it was really loud. But, with that Brian home run in the first, it kind of really took the air out of the stadium, I think, and made it a little easier, I think, for all the Cubs, especially Arrieta out there. How
about Arrieta, Coach? I mean, wow. First of all, he's a physical specimen. But then as a catcher and somebody who's had so much success as a coach, talk a little bit about how he works the game, pitches the game, and works around the plate.
Well, he's just, I think, like you said, he's a physical specimen. The stuff's off the charts. But there's in today's game, and if you went through the minor leagues, and even if you scouted some high school and colleges, you're going to see a lot of guys that throw really hard. And But I think the reason that Jake's really risen to being one of the top pitchers in the major leagues is not just the stuff. The stuff's off the charts, but to be able to command it, to be able to his mental game, his preparation is just second to none. You know, I'm fortunate to be really close friends with Jim Schlossnagle, his college coach, and he just talks all the time about in the off season when he sees him bullpen, when he sees him work out, how focused and locked in he is, and he's your typical a professional in the sense that he not only is he very talented, but the work ethic is off the charts. But to watch him throw in person is much like you see, I think, on TV. The stuff's just amazing.
Very successful Ole Miss baseball coach Mike Bianco on the Out of Bounds show, joining us from the Cleveland airport. He and his son Drew were at Game 6 last night as the Cubs win 9-3. Excuse me, and as Mike was describing, the ball was flying out of the ballpark for the Cubs with Bryant Russell and Rizzo hitting bombs. So, Mike, did you see any celebrities last night, or were you just locked into to the Cubs and the Indians?
It's walking around town, you see a lot of the ESPN people, a lot of the Buster Olneys and those types that there's so many people here. They don't even let Chris apologize. Usually if you went to Wrigley or whatnot, and if you have a connection, sometimes you get on the field for BP or get close. But in a game like this, as you can imagine, with all the pomp and circumstance, there's so many people on the field. I think that's one of the things that I was taken back is when you walk into the stadium and you look, these guys are taking batting practice, and from the right field foul pole all the way down around home plate back to the left field foul pole, there is just camera after camera, TV studio, temporary TV studio, and all these desks from Sports Center to MLB to their local media. I mean, it's amazing how many reporters and how many cameras are on TV doing interviews, grabbing guys out of batting practice. It's really, it's something I think none of us really, when you're watching it from TV, can really appreciate until you get in there and say, man, these guys are about to play a baseball game. This is what they do. And there is TV sets like literally all over the field. I can't believe somebody didn't get hit last night with a foul ball or, an air foul ball throwing BP. But, it's a pretty neat display.
Mike Bianco on the Out of Bounds describing what it was like to attend Game 6 of the World Series. Cubs win 9-3 over the Indians, and Mike has a former player, Chris Coughlin, on the Chicago Cubs, who was a great player at Ole Miss. You're listening to the Out of Bounds show. Mike joins us on the New Belgium Fat Tire Hotline, and Mike kind enough to join us from the airport. Speaking of that, Mike, I think John Smoltz has done – I don't know how much you've been able to watch at home, but I think John Smoltz has done a great job as a color analyst throughout the playoffs. How do you think Smoltz has done as a former player? Because not all former players are really good at that, and it's a very difficult job.
No, it's a great point, and I think John's been terrific. And just because you played the game and you were really good at it, and obviously John's a Hall of Famer and was, doesn't mean, one, that you can speak on it as far as to explain it to the layperson, to explain, a pitcher's mechanics or, a play. You play the game very well, but doesn't necessarily mean that you can articulate it like that. And so, it's two talents. It's one to have the knowledge and the information, and two to be able to, articulate it in such a way that the fans, that the normal fan, can understand it. And no, he's been terrific. And it's one of the things that, because there's so much media out there, and you're included in that because, the radio shows and from ESPN to Fox to MLB to all these different, and this is all sports. And I always wonder, why do they always go for these, athletes? And, because some of them, as you mentioned, aren't very good at this. But he's terrific. And I think, it's hard to find a guy, like a Troy Aikman or one of those guys that
Agree.
Was there. That was was a champion, was a star in the profession, and can do like you do and be able to speak, well. I know I couldn't. I don't think I could. I don't think I could sit there for 3 hours and be as good as those guys. So you're right. I think he's terrific.
Mike Bianco on the Out of Bounds show was at Game 6 of the World Series last night. Cubs win to extend the series to Game 7 tonight. And Mike was with his son, Drew, who is going to LSU. And, Mike, as we wrap this up, usually when we have you on, you're locked in to your team and playing 56 games and 30 in the SEC. And, of course, we've enjoyed having you on the last 14 years. But this is an opportunity for me to ask you a different question as we wrap it up. Drew committed to LSU, your son. What was that experience like as a successful SEC baseball coach? What was the experience like to have your son recruited by big-time teams and then commit to your alma mater?
Well, obviously from a father standpoint, you're very proud and very excited for Drew. And, that's where he wanted to go. And fortunately got the opportunity. And they through the process, Coach Maneri and Coach Canizero, they treated him so well. And, as he said in his own words, he said, to his mom and myself, Dad, to me, it's the perfect fit. They're one of the best baseball programs in the country. They're close to home. When you and Mom, and he knows I won't be there, but when Mom can't come, I'll always have friends and family, because we still have a lot of friends and family in Louisiana, and it's close enough for my wife to get down there and see a lot of the games. So it was a terrific fit. We made that decision 16 years ago when I got to Ole Miss. And there's a coach that has a son that's good enough to play college, and we've kind of looked at both sides of it and said, if any of our boys were good enough to play for Ole Miss, meaning for us to recruit them, then we didn't want that to happen. We wanted them to go somewhere else and experience what it really is to be a college student and a college athlete. And I don't think they could get that at Ole Miss. They needed to get away from Oxford and let somebody else coach them, to grow up and, live away from home and, experience college. And, Oxford and Ole Miss is tremendous. But I think for my kids, if they want to experience, being a college athlete, they needed to experience it somewhere else to really get that true feel. And it was really more, I think, for them to come, one of them to play for me would be more selfish than anything else, because that means I would get to see him, but they wouldn't really get to experience being a true student athlete. So we were fortunate that Drew's good enough, and so got recruited, and he's excited, and we're excited for him. 3 games a year. Maybe a little different, and I'm sure you'll be asking these questions in a couple of years when he's there.
Right.
We'll have to do a little bit of that, but at least we won't have to do it all the time for 3 straight years, just 3 games a year. And so we're just happy and excited for him.
You should be. Smart parenting, and that's special for sure. Mike Bianco joining us on the Out of Bounds show, taking some time out as he went to the World Series game last night with his son, and that is bucket list stuff right there. Mike, we can't thank you enough for jumping on this morning. I know you're flying back to Oxford, and you're in the airport. Thanks for sharing the experience of attending Game 7 with your son, and we look forward to talking to you in February when y'all get it kicked off again.
Thanks, Bo. I appreciate it. Always look forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike Bianco, head baseball coach for the Ole Miss Rebels, with his son Drew at the Game 6 of the World Series, with the Cubs winning 9-3 last night to extend the series to Game 7 tonight in Cleveland. We'll have Todd Wade, who played football at Ole Miss, at 9 a.m., but straight ahead, we'll get back into the poll question today, which is centered around the